Welcome back to Twin Tarot. I'm Gary.
And I'm David. Welcome back.
We're doing
Welcome
this
back.
a second time. So Dave and I were having a randy discussion. We were making all sorts of insightful comments and all sorts of wonderful things. And then I realized my microphone was not plugged into my computer.
So we were doing the Marcel miming of a conversation.
So we're gonna do it again. It'll probably be better the second time.
Yeah, maybe a bit briefer this time.
Yeah, that's true.
So did you enjoy your month off?
Yeah, no kidding, right? Literally, it was a month. Yeah, it's just what was happening in Minnesota broke me. And I was explaining this on the video when I finally came back on President's Day, I recorded it. But what was really troubling to me is it's no longer a left versus right situation. It's right versus wrong. And you can't look at what's happening in Minnesota and say that you're okay with this. In my mind, it's just wrong on every dimension.
Right.
And what was upsetting to me is there are still a lot of people out there that they're just desperately clinging on to their beliefs and saying that, well, Renee Nicole Good tried to run down that ICE agent, so she deserved to be killed. It's like, are you effing kidding me? This guy's like a mall cop. It's like if a mall cop pulled a gun and told you to get out of your car, and as you're driving away, he kills you. And then everyone around you is like, well, that person should have listened to the mall cop. The person had no authority over you.
Right.
And it's just, and we had a little situation in our family where there was one family member who was...
She should have just complied.
Yeah, just complied, just get out of the car. And at that point, my level of outrage was already high, and it spiked.
Yeah.
And I realized that at this point in where I'm at, I'm so emotionally invested in what's happening there, and I'm so emotionally outraged that I need to step away.
Yeah.
Because I am not going to read these cards in a balanced, objective way. It's hard enough when you're not emotionally outraged to read these things in a balanced, objective way, because there's so much wish casting that you can throw into every interpretation of these cards. And I needed to step away. I needed to unplug from the matrix and just find my center again.
Mm.
And it took a while. There was a couple times I thought, well, I wouldn't mind getting back out there, but it's just like I knew I wasn't ready to do it yet, because I didn't want to come back and then disappear for 3 weeks. If I'm back in the game, I want to be back in the game, and I can't guarantee how long I'm going to be in the game, but I feel like I'm in the game for a while at least.
Yeah. And for those asking, is Gary okay? Is he coming back? That's why I wasn't telling you, because if some of it was family drama. Now, Gary and I were both in the same room at the time this happened, and we both reacted pretty much the same way.
Yeah.
Figure the part that bothered me most, and because I thought about this later, is that there are two things with it. The first thing that came up in Guides and Angels, thank you, because right after that incident, something came up on my Google feed that says, when you're being gaslit, and you're being gaslit, you tend to go to your support group and say, look at this. This feels wrong. This is like a lie. Am I crazy? Because the whole point of gaslighting is to get you to doubt the veracity of your sanity.
Yes.
And in your support group, usually is a support group there to say, as they read it, assuming that you're not insane and that you're reasonably interpreting things, they would be there to support you, to say, yeah, you're right. No, your lying eyes didn't lie to you. The statement that she tried to weaponized her vehicle and tried to run over and kill these ICE agents is demonstrably false when you look at the video. And we had shown this family member the video, and they were amazingly unable to see the same thing that we saw. What this person saw was the psyche of the person is that they like structure. They really, really like structure. They like hierarchy. It makes things very black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And in this person's structural world, the police are the good guys. And if a police officer tells you to do something, they have authority over you, and you obey the authority figure. Regardless of whether your rights are violated or not, you always do what the authority figure tells you to. And in this case, trying to explain to them that this person, the ICE agents, didn't have authority over Renee. But it's like, and you can't step in front of the vehicle. And notice the guns being pulled out before she's backing up, and he's already pulling the gun out. He's moved the phone to another hand prior to pulling the gun out because he was getting ready to pull the gun out. The speed with which she was turning, the wheels that were cranked. This was not an attempt to gun the engine and run this guy down. And she just wouldn't let go of the way that she saw things, because that's how she sees the world. And in the end, she ended with, well, this is just a tragedy. And where I lost it was, this takes me back. And obviously it wasn't not in this lifetime, but I've read a lot on World War II. It's kind of a thing. I went through a phase where I read a lot of books on World War II, especially in North Africa. But if you go to mid-1930s Germany, the Nazi Party didn't start off with Hitler in charge and they're rounding up people. This started off as a political movement, some ideology of making Germany great again type of thing, by some loudmouth little twerp that nobody took seriously until it was too late and you had to take him seriously. They had to identify enemies. They started off with gypsies. They started off with mentally handicapped people because they're not really Germans and they shouldn't be breeding, that type of thing. But then they went after Jews. And to go after the Jewish people, one of the things they did to sort of normalize things, as it were, was they had Jewish people wear Stars of David.
Yeah. So
that the German people would know for sure who they were dealing with. If they were doing business dealings or something like that, they probably pretty much knew who the Jewish people were. But the locals knew who the Jewish people were, but people outside the area needed to be able to identify them. And so if you heard about a Jewish family being pulled out of their houses in the middle of the night and disappeared, the standard argument was going to be, well, you know what? We asked them to comply with some law or some ordinance regulation, and they resisted. So this is what happens when you resisted. They were being totally unreasonable with just a normal search or something along those lines. And you can rationalize, well, okay, well, that must have been a bad Jewish family and they got what they deserved, type of thing. And all it takes for evil to succeed is for good people to do nothing.
Yep.
And when they made the comments like, well, she should have just complied, it took me right to that point.
Yeah.
It took a while to figure it out, but it's like, that's where we're at. This is why the Trump administration, they eat around the edges of morality, and they just get closer and closer to the center. They just little steps at a time to get you to forego your moral compass, your moral codes. And the other part is that this family member is not politically aware, which is the height of privilege. Because basically the attitude is everything's going to be fine. You don't need to put in any effort. Everything's going to work out. It always works out. Well, yeah, if you're in the position of privilege, everything always does work out. Ask the marginalized community if everything always works out.
Yeah.
If you just let it go to its natural thing. But the sibling doesn't understand that. She basically isn't smart enough to understand it. And I hate to play it, but that's pretty much it. You're not smart enough to recognize what you don't know.
Yeah.
and apparently not wise enough to listen to your learned younger brothers who actually pay attention to these things and don't lie to you and try to shoot straight to you.
Yeah. So that's why I took a break.
Yeah.
It was definitely an emotional moment, and I needed to disengage.
Yeah, You see, I'm still up here about it. I'm still angry about this.
Yeah, Dave's always had a little more passion.
Just a touch.
But what I wanted to do is I kind of wanted to look at, what's been going on with the whole QAnon. So, Dave and I had this really long discussion about how basically QAnon had identified all these crazy theories that were hardly believable, and then the cherry on top is then they throw something on there that's completely unbelievable. But now we're starting to have evidence that the cherry on top is actually true.
Well, it's funny because for the most part, QAnon, they're wrong. Yeah, they're really wrong about anything. They are truly the broken clock or the blind squirrel. Blind squirrel, blind squirrel.
Jewish space lasers, for example.
Yeah, the blind squirrel occasionally finds a nut, or a broken clock is right twice a day. Again, Hillary Clinton does not appear to be under house arrest with ankle monitors. JFK did not arise from the dead, where he and Elvis have been running a convenience store somewhere to become Donald Trump's vice president. I'm trying to think of what other incredible QAnon stories that they've come out of. But you get the idea. Craziness. But the whole Epstein files thing, it just like, okay, there's a cabal of wealthy, politically connected people that are human trafficking, sex trafficking, and basically running the governments around the world. 10 years ago, I would have said, just shut up. But after having paid attention to politics for the last 10 years, and you see stuff like Harlan Crow owns Clarence Thomas with all the monies and gifts and everything like that. It's like a patron to him. Yeah. It's like, and all the PACs and Citizens United, all the money that's involved there that could buy a congressman, could buy a senator, could buy the votes. How many people really wonder, why do our congressmen seem to support Israel so much?
Yeah.
You don't have to look any further than Mossad being one of the best intelligence agencies and by far the most ruthless of the intelligence agencies to get an idea of why this might be happening. Now, with the QAnon thing, with the Epstein files, everything could be believable because there's going to be money in human trafficking. There's going to be money in sex trafficking. A cabal of wealthy people running the governments. Well, yeah, because money can run the governments. But then they throw in the impossible one, which is they're a bunch of cannibals.
Yeah.
Seriously, but now with the Epstein files over the last couple of weeks, there is this code word called beef jerky, which shows up in there. And that apparently is a code word for consuming human flesh. And by the context of the emails I've seen where people have talked about this, we're talking babies, not adults. And that is an incredibly disturbing thing to think. But if you also look at it, wealthy people have all the, especially how money's been concentrated up over the last 40 years. Thank you, Ronald Reagan. With trickle-down economics means the money barely trickles down. It all stays up top.
Yeah, it's that whole Six of Pentacles card.
Yeah. They have all the money. They have everything money can buy. And now they're bored with it because money doesn't buy them anything new. So they start buying experiences. Yeah. And sex trafficking is an experience.
And frankly, they're above the law because they can buy the law.
Consuming beef jerky is an experience that, it's taboo. They're hitting all the taboos at this point because that's what gives them excitement. That gives them titillation. Otherwise, they're just bored. Mm-hmm. If they're not bored, now we could take away 98% of their money, and then they could be struggling like the rest of us. And, when you're working, you don't have time to be bored.
So it's just, Dave and I had a conversation. It's just, some of the outlandish claims are exactly that, outlandish.
Not to be true.
Is on point, and where it's like someone in the know wanted to get this out. out into the public, and they had to
That's
find.
one thought. It may not be. It may be just a way to get a base of people. But as a consequence of this, people who had knowledge of it got it out there.
But what they did was they got it out there, but what they did was they had to create a different boogeyman in order for it to really gain traction with the audience that would retweet it, if you will.
The QAnon person doesn't have big critical thinking skills, so you got to make it palatable to them, and so they tend to not like Democrats these days.
Yeah,
they're paranoid about the government, and they've been weaponized against Democrats. It's not always the case, but that's kind of the most vocal group.
So you make the boogeyman the Democrats.
Yeah.
And then this thing starts gaining traction. And one of Dave's insights was, the Republicans glommed onto this power, but they never really wanted to actually release the information. They just wanted the power, and they would hope that the interest in this would wane and go away. That's why Trump says something like, Epstein files, people are still interested in this. Yeah. They want it to go away. They leveraged it to their benefit. They got what they wanted out of it. Now they want it to go away, but it won't go away.
Frankenstein's monster is rampaging the countryside because it wants its toy.
Yeah.
That's why it's a cult. And I think it was a gamble, because if they figured they could get this base, this cult of personality that Trump actually usurped, if they got this cult, they could set up the government in such a way that they would never be out of power for a long time. I mean, like decades to hundreds of years type of long time, basically setting up an oligarchy, kind of like what they had in Russia.
Yeah.
Or currently have in Russia, but maybe that's going to be toppling sometime soon. And now, of course, they're at the very top, so they're in the right spot.
Right, exactly.
But the downside is that exactly they wanted the masses to no longer care about the promise, the mission of the cult, which is the release of the Epstein files, and I don't think they understood how tenacious these folks would be.
Trump does his best to distract from it. Bombing Iran, kidnapping the president of Venezuela, and
narco terrorists in the Caribbean or the Western Pacific.
Now he wants to release him, or he's releasing information on aliens. Whatever he can do to get the Epstein files out of the headlines, he's going to try and do.
And he's been so incredibly successful at changing the news cycle that, of course, he knew this was going to work, but it's not working.
Yeah, it only works temporarily, and then we go back to the default.
The whole ICE raids, all the ICE raids in Minnesota is trying to change the narrative.
Yes. And so why don't we just, since we're 15 minutes into this or so, or 18 minutes, why don't we throw some cards? This was going to be more of a conversational video anyways. Let's throw some cards on what the Epstein files look like. What's coming up next in this, and where is it going? How's this, something like that?
Sure.
I'll let you go on that one first.
Yeah.
All David.
Yeah, it's funny when I did the thing with the cards. I believe the tower was on the bottom of it. I wanted to stop shuffling right there, but that's not how this game works.
Oh.
Okay, so what's coming next for the Epstein files here? And the thing is, the Epstein files has to be. It's hard to get your mind around how big this is, how far-reaching and sweeping it is, and just how horrific it is. But at the same time, it's going to be the catalyst. It's going to be the thing that that finally unites people to have almost like a revolution.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we're at with this thing. So come on now, let's take a look. What's coming next for the Epstein files? It's decision time. And literally this is us as the collective. We need to decide what we're going to do next. It's time to make choices. In the previous one, Gary's talking about a battle of good and evil type of thing. And that's pretty much where we're at right now. And it's going to be a hard decision. This is a lot of heavy lifting needs to be done here. But underneath is the magician. But it's time. It's time to manifest the decision. Hard choices need to be made. The heavy lifting needs to be done. In the past, you got the Two of Coins. In some ways, this is the restriction of the release of that information. And every time they release the information, they say, well, that's all we're going to give you. That's all you need. And there's millions and millions of more documents. But not only that, from the volume of the documents, we haven't even scratched the surface. And what I mean by that is they've released probably about 20 gigabytes of information so far. But there's reporting that there's like 14 to 20 terabytes of information. So when you do the math, it's roughly like 2% of the volume of information has been released, which is, and the things that's going to take up a lot of the volume are going to be videos. You can picture surveillance videos, cameras in all the rooms, videos of people doing actions, which will probably use for blackmail. There's a lot of video stuff that's going to be out there that hasn't been released. And, emails can be kind of dry. The videos aren't going to be dry.
Yeah. You get the full experience.
Exactly. They've been throttling stuff and trying to say, okay, we've given you enough to calm the shores, but it's not been working. And more pressure is being put to release the evidence. And the more pressure you put, the less opportunity this person has to keep all the balls in the air. And then when the balls start falling out of the air, they all fall out. The current situation, what's coming up with the Epstein files, is the Queen of Wands. Right now, it's in the hands of the Department of Justice. It's in the hands of the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. And she's the one that's in the hot seat right now. I've got the files. They're on my desk. I looked at them this morning. And now she's the one who's holding them up. And if you saw her testimony in front of Congress the other day, it was a humiliating embarrassment of her. She was doing it for a party of one, and that was Donald Trump. Yep. But right now, she's the key, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on her to release that information, to follow the law. Overarching energy is the Five of Coins. A couple of things with this one. Think of the coins as being evidence. They know that the evidence, they tried to release enough, just enough, to get some people thrown under the bus. These are the subjects that they're throwing under the bus. And maybe that'll be enough. It's not going to be enough. And what you're going to find is that more and more you're going to find poor people, marginalized people are the ones being trafficked in this situation. And we're going to get more and more information on that. Lesson to be learned is the Eight of Coins, the working on the evidence. As more evidence comes out, there's a lot of work. In some ways they're trying to redact, and the redactions are being called out. And they're gonna have to go back to this data and start unredacting stuff. And when you unredact stuff, more and more people get exposed. They're no longer in the club inside. They're gonna be kicked out. And the outcome is the Five of Wands, the Hillbilly Brawl card. The more information comes out, the more furious people are, and the more it's like a feeding frenzy. The more they want. It's kind of like, so what's next with the Epstein files is, despite the fact that they're trying to hold on to this information tightly, the information has to come out, and the more that comes out, the more people want it, and the more agitated they get, because it's obviously really, really bad. And now they're getting angry because you've been withholding this stuff because it makes you look bad. What else are you holding back? Give us everything. And then it's kind of a feedback loop where they get angrier and angrier. And the angrier they get, the more information comes out, which makes them more angry. It's a feeding frenzy.
So I'm gonna sort of build on that. So, what is the outcome? What happens after the Hillbilly Brawl card? As more and more of this information comes out, what are the actions? What happens next? Oops, upside down. Page of Swords. So actions is basically the truth is out there. It's like a new truth. You're ready for the fight. The information is out there, the truth is out there, and people are ready for a fight because they want to put an end to this. 10 of Swords. Underneath it, you got the Star. Major Arcana. This is about the best of the United States. Having an honest justice department, an honest court system, free, honest news information coming out. These are all hallmarks of the democracy. It's the Star. It's sticking up for the innocent people that have been victimized, the survivors of this. They want to put up the fight. They want to put an end to this and start showing the best of what we have and our morals and ethics. In the past, you had the Page of Cups, not believing the crazy, or the crazy theories that were coming out of this that, some people readily believed, others were more skeptical. Current energy is the Queen of Wands, the card David pulled. Pam Bondi, the Justice Department, they need to take action. The Queen of Wands is usually someone who's multitasking. And Bondi's right now, her biggest multitask is sticking her nose as far up Trump's bum as she can.
Oh, God, it's embarrassing, isn't it?
Oh, well, the stock market, the Dow hit $50,000, so everything should be okay.
Everything's fine. Wife, where were you last night? Husband, Dow hit 50,000.
So the next steps are you're going to get a lot of actions being taken. People want they're ready for the fight. They want it to end. They want to show that we are showing the best of our morals and ethics, and we're going to take this crazy information and we're going to act on it. Page of Wands, and we're going to change the messaging on this. It's time for there's a lot of beginnings, you got 3 pages out of the 4 pages so far. The message is changing. The lesson to be learned is it changed because we finally took some freaking action. This is my favorite card right now. It's about to do something, damn it. And the outcome is the Nine of Cups. Nine of Cups, hopes, wishes, dreams fulfilled. It could also be exposing the rich, wealthy people that were behind all of this.
I look at this for what I get is that it's time for the survivors to come out.
Yep.
And put pressure on Pam Bondi with releasing that information, because as this information comes out, the survivors' stories are not being proven wrong.
Yes.
And so, if anything, it's validating the survivors. And as that fury builds up, the survivors can start taking more action, or more action can be taken with survivors. Survivors may get interviewed, and more of their story is going to get out there. And for a lot of the folks on the right, they've not heard these stories because their preferred news networks don't cover it. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be shocked when they start finding out who's involved.
Absolutely.
Shocking the system.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I know this is kind of a heavy topic with light on tarot, heavy on conversation, but it's one of those things where
it's Sunday. You got time. Just make sure you watch it before Sterling, or else it's real intuitives. Sterling and Linda, yay!
It's probably one of those things where we have to keep our minds open. And as much as we like to think we know what the truth is and what the right path is, you have to, at least on the periphery, you have to at least understand what's going on the periphery, because life may take you in a direction you weren't expecting to go. And I would certainly have never even believed any of the crap from QAnon, but here we are.
Well, it doesn't exactly have a great track record, does it?
No, they don't.
I'm just wondering if this was a calculated risk, that if we could just push across the finish line. I mean, even with the end of Trump's first administration going into the 2020 election, it felt like they had given up all pretense of trying to run this country fairly, and were racing for the 2020 election to cement their hold on power. And the voters said no, and we got a 4-year reprieve.
Right. But here we are. And
here we are again.
Right. And if Trump is still upright and more or less coherent, we're going to have a repeat in 2028.
I don't think he's going to last that long.
I
still think by the end of this year, I think he's toast. As far politically, he should have been lame. We thought he was lame duck in December, and he still shows flashes of some power. But other than his tariffs, there's not a lot going on. And the problem is that the Epstein files are like kryptonite.
Yeah.
And Trump's mentioned more in the Epstein files that have been released. He's mentioned more times in it than God is mentioned in the Bible, or
yes.
I'm sorry, than Jesus is mentioned in the Bible.
Yeah, by a large measure.
Yeah.
And just for you folks out there, DJT stock is at $10.11. It was actually under $10 briefly.
Okay.
And that's, to me, that is the bellwether of Trump's influence, is that stock price. And every time he gets a setback or he starts losing power, that stock is going down. So we're almost in the single digits. We're in the countdown. We're in the final countdown for this. So we're almost through it. Hang in there. Be strong. Let's fight the good fight. You got the No King's March coming up on March 28th. We got to get out there with our signs, banners, and voices and make this thing huge.
Yeah, remember the protesting is not only for us, it's for everybody outside the United States watching at the train wreck that is this country right now. And you going out there and protesting, when you see the time-lapse videos of tens of thousands of people marching in the streets in this giant human wave walking down the streets like in Chicago or Philadelphia or New York, that uplifts people outside the country, because it shows that the American people are not behind this administration.
Right. And even the Olympic athletes are saying, I love the United States. I just don't love everything that's going on in it right now.
Yeah.
The message is out there, but we have to back that up. Show it, support it with numbers. Anyways, have a great weekend, folks, and we'll see you soon.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.